Hey guys, AKIL'S here. Welcome back to the Trading Coach Podcast. Today we're going to talk about 4 steps you can take to control or take control of your trading emotions. Now, this is a video episode, so make sure you hop over on Spotify or YouTube to check it out, or whatever podcasting app that allows you to see videos. Speaking of which, I did the little Spotify rap thing and I was pleasantly surprised that, yes, yours truly and this truly, the Trading Coach Podcast, finished in the top 10% of video podcasts out there. So amazing. I knew you guys liked it. That's why I've been doing more and more, and it's cool to see the stats back that up. So hooray for us. So this podcast is going to follow up on a previous podcast I did, right? I think it was 1062. Let me double check that real quick. Editing is amazing. Yes, 1062. Where I spoke about an amazing trading story that also ended pretty poorly. It was the story of Jesse Livermore, told in the book called Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, which is known as an industry classic, but one that I didn't really like personally. But again, I probably read it at the wrong point in my trading career, where I was more focused on magic strategy instead of like learning the lessons that really matter in trading, like what we're going to discuss today. And just to kind of recap in, I guess the story of Jesse Livermore, pretty much he was a young trader, young investor, made lots of money, blew lots of money, made even more money, blew even more money, made massive amounts of money, blew massive amounts of money, committed suicide because of the emotional toll. And the reason that he would make money, because he was a brilliant investor, he had a solid trading plan, solid rules, and he capitalized off that greatly. The reason he blew money was because he would, from time to time, break his rules, and then when he would break his rules, he would try to make it back, and he just couldn't control kind of his emotional state, his mind state. And again, for the most part, he did everything right, but it's just proof that you can do 100 things right in life. You do one wrong thing, it can ruin your life forever. That goes back to a speech my dad told me when I was really young, where it's like, hey, do the right thing, stay out of trouble, don't get arrested, blah, 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 blah. And he was talking about all it takes is one mistake, and you go to jail, then you come out, you can't get a job, and your life is in a completely different direction. So it's very important that we're cautious, we're fearful of making that detrimental mistake. In trading, this means blowing your account. And for some of you guys, it may not mean much. I didn't blow my account, but I lost massive amounts of money plenty of times in the market. But if someone completely blows their account, they may not have a chance to refund an account. So that may be your one chance at being successful at trading, and you blew it, you're done. And that can take your life from this direction to this direction with a Thanos snap of the finger. Now, when it comes to managing our emotions, what makes it specifically harder in trading is because we're dealing with, 2 things that emotions are very heavily attached to. One is going to be money. Right? Money is one of the most impactful emotional drivers. For you guys that have been through maybe struggling states in your life, think about how you feel waking up. Think about how you feel operating during the day when you're in a position where you don't know if you have a job, or you don't know if the bills are going to get paid, or you don't know if there's going to be an eviction notice on your apartment or your house when you get home, where you don't know if your car breaks down, if you're going to be able to have the money to repair it and go to work, right? It is kind of it's a really fight or flight, whatever way we're supposed to say it, type of situation where you're on edge, you're in survival mode every single waking minute of every single day. Now, I've been in that situation. It's kind of invigorating for a little bit. Invigorating? One of the words? I don't know. You guys have been here long enough. Me and words don't work, blah, right? You know what I'm saying? It's kind of cool in the beginning because it kind of fires you up a little bit. It allows you to test yourself and see what you're really made of. Again, that's the craziness of AKIL'S athlete. I like being down in the 4th quarter so I can be the hero and get the game-winning catch or make the game-winning bucket. But to be in that state for consistent long periods of time is dreadful. It is horrible. It brings out the worst in you. Now think about that compared to when you're in a position where all of your basic needs are met, right? You don't have to worry about eating. You don't have to worry about paying rent. Your car is fine. You operate in a much more happier space. Now, the downside is you tend to get lazy sometimes if you're in that space for too long. That's why I kind of like the invigoration of like the struggle, and sometimes you have to artificially create that. But I think we'd all agree that we would much rather have the latter than the former when it comes to our emotional state with money. Now, obviously, money is a key part of trading. We are literally taking money, throwing money into the market, and either making money or losing money. And throughout a trader's career, throughout a trader's year, the market takes us on emotional swings, right? If you're new to the channel, if you're new to trading, guess what? You just don't put money in and make money straight up forever. No, there are ebbs and flows. Every trader takes drawdowns, right? The truth of the matter is you're going to be technically in a drawdown longer than you are anything else, right? So the majority of your trading existence will be in a drawdown. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. And the market is constantly taking us on these emotional swings, pulling us on this emotional yo-yo. And that's why you see so many traders could be good for short periods of time, but over the long period, they tend to bow out because they just can't make it. So to answer the question of how do we control this emotional state and don't end up like Jesse Livermore or the 90% of other traders out there that don't make it, well, there are 4 steps we can take. One, we first have to know and admit, and admitting is probably the more important part, what effect are our emotions having on our trading, right? In order to take something seriously, you have to admit that it exists, right? For me, in the beginning of my trading career, I remember blaming everyone but myself. I'm sure you've done the same, where I blame broker, I've blamed the economy, I've blamed the president, I blame my dad, the star, the moons, right? The strategy, my mentors, everyone but myself. I refuse to accept blame. And because I refuse to accept blame, I never really accepted that I had a problem. And if you don't accept that you have a problem, you never take the steps to find a solution to that problem. So the first step is accept that emotions are a problem. They are hurting you, and understand the impact in which they are doing so. Now, something that helps with this, and I think we're going to touch on this later as well, but it's journaling, right? When you literally write something down, so journaling, think about journaling after every trade. We talk about, obviously, you want to keep your data for your trades, your quantitative stuff, win, loss, time, date, all that fun stuff, but also put in a little note section, right? And that note section should be for your observation. So let's say you notice that you exited a trade early, right? Write down, hey, I exited this trade early for a profit. And then when you come back the next day and see that price would have hit the profit level that you were supposed to hold on to, right next to that note, price ended up blah, 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 hitting profit that it was supposed to hit. And then what did it cost you? It cost me 50 pips. And right there, by writing it down, you can visually see that direct relationship of mistake I made, what it cost me. Mistake I made, what it cost me. And you do this on a consistent basis, trade over trade over trade, you're going to start to see a pattern. You're like, you know what? Every time I take stops early, or the majority of times I take stops early, I'm leaving pips on the table. And at the end of the year, the month, whatever it is, you can see that, hey, I should have had this, but I only made this because of that. And you can connect the dots and draw a conclusion from that. So writing it down, having that observation portion in your trading notes or your trading journal is a big help in achieving this. Now, the next step is understanding that you can't turn your emotions off. This was a very difficult one for me. Again, I was trained by someone who was ex-military. I played sports at a very high level. So sports is, as far as kind of how it's organized in a very military state, right? When it is game day, right, your emotions go off. I don't care if you're happy. I don't care if you're sad. You want to go out there and kill, right? Not literally kill. We don't want to do that, but kill people on the competitive field. So I was conditioned to being like, hey, when I go in there and I put my football helmet on, I take my emotions, I leave them in the locker room, right? And I'm not gonna lie, that did benefit me in trading, because one of the things that my mentor said about me is, and probably one of my greatest traits to this day, is I am very even. My mentor spoke to me plenty of times when I've been on massive losing streaks, when I've been on massive winning streaks. And I'll be on massive winning streaks and I'll be like, hey man, I just made like 25% in the last 3 months. He's like, well, you sound like you lost. I'm like, yeah, well. And then massive losing streaks were like, hey man, I just had a 10% drawdown in the last 3 months. Like, aren't you sad? Yeah, oh well. And it's not that I don't feel those emotions. I was just very good at kind of disconnecting from them. Now, again, the problem that I had with disconnecting from those emotions is that right? The one I said above or before, I didn't really accept that they were playing a role because I just thought of them as being nonsense. And it wasn't until I started reading and understanding stuff by Denise Scholl, who I highly recommend following if you get the chance, that as human beings, our job, trying to ditch emotions or think we can turn them off is really just a Band-Aid. It doesn't really solve the problem. It actually makes the problem worse because we have this gushing wound that's, maybe bleeding internally, and I put a Band-Aid on it. It makes me feel good, like, ooh, I got a Band-Aid on my internal bleeding, but it doesn't actually help the problem. Then it goes overlooked and you eventually die. Sorry to get morbid. I've been watching a lot. I just finished The Day of the Jackal, and there's a lot of violence in there, and it's on the mind. I'm sorry. Great show, by the way. Back on topic, fact of the matter is that our emotions don't come with an on-off button. They are part of us as human beings. And, although we can do things to kind of stop ourselves from reacting off of them, we have to understand that, hey, it's okay when I feel this way. I'm allowed to get happy after I win. I'm allowed to get happy after I execute a good trade. I'm allowed to get sad if I lose money in the market. I'm allowed to get sad if I make a mistake, right? Acceptance is key. Because if we continue to suppress them, it's like a volcano. It's only a matter of time before they explode, and they explode in a very negative way. So next is journaling, and I kind of already spoke on this earlier. I combined it with whatever the first one was we talk about, but you know how these podcasts goes. They're not rehearsed. They're just kind of boom, on, Akil, talk, and I go where I go. So we don't need to recap that. But the last one, this was the one that I was good at, handle your business. So by this point, we understand that emotions are causing us issues in our trading. We understand that we are emotional beings. We can't turn them off. We don't necessarily want to suppress them and pretend that they don't exist. So by handling our business, we need to take control of these emotions. We need to have tactics so that they don't do the things that we don't want them doing, so that we don't get the results that we don't want to get. Yeah, that stuff, right? But what I mean by handling our emotions is understanding how to deal with them. So I've said this story before. One of the big problems I had early on as a trader is I would get cocky and confident. I'd go on, I have like a big win, and then I'd think like, oh, I'm invincible, I'm never gonna lose again. And I would take that confidence into the market. So I would have this playlist, different songs for different type of wins. I had songs for big wins, songs for small wins, songs for some lucky wins. And what I would do is after I would win a trade, I would play these songs. I'd go crazy and an air guitar, right? I don't know why I sound like a lawnmower, right? But I would do that. I'd jump across the room and dance. And that was my productive way of kind of getting all the hype out of me. And by the time I got back to my computer, I had settled down because I had burnt off all those positive emotions. I would do the same thing for negative trades as well. I had a different playlist, a couple darker songs, but I would rage out in the room and I'd get all angry and mad and I'd smash things and break things like pillows or this little cute guy over here, right? I don't know why I did that. He's cool. I got this as a present from when my grandma died, which again went in a bad place. Rough time today. But yeah, I would throw things and toss things. I would get those negative emotions out of me. That way they were left in whatever I destroyed in the carnage that I left in the room, and I didn't have them with me on the chart. I no longer do that today. Today I'm a little bit more kind of productive, I guess, efficient with what I do. I love working out, so I'll go to the weight room to get out my rage. I'll go for bike rides. I'll go for runs. Like physical activity is my thing. I kind of combine physical activity and meditation to calm myself down. But if you notice, part of my daily routine for you guys are with me in the live room each day. Once my live room day is done, I immediately try to get out and do something physical, right? Because whatever emotions I'm carrying with me from that first session of trading, I want to get them out my system. That way I can approach the second session of my trading neutral without any kind of baggage of overconfidence or cockiness or revenge trading. So you got to find what works for you. Everyone's a little bit different, but you want to put together some tactics and techniques for how you can handle these emotions. Again, not get rid of them, but kind of please them in a way so that they are kind of okay when you have to do what you got to do. So this is where I throw it to you. If you guys have any recommendations or tips for what you do to control your emotions, let me know, right? Leave them in the comment section below. I know on Spotify, you can leave comments. On YouTube, you can leave comments. Again, the Trading Coach Podcast is a podcast for us, by us. This is a community, a very great community, by the way. And if there's anything that you can do to help traders or maybe spark an idea for a fellow trader, it is your duty to do it. Speaking of duties, it's your duty to make sure you leave me a rating and a review if you haven't done so already. Seriously, the podcast has grown massively over the last year. I think we've grown by 14%. I just did the Spotify work thing where it gave me all the cool numbers and graphics, and I want to grow even more. So leave me a rating, leave me a review, share it on your socials, and until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan. Take care.